Massage can improve circulation to fat tissue in particular, and that can really help with weight loss or body sculpting kind of programs. Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Minke. This is Minke Wellness, and today we're going to talk about or show you some techniques of self-massage for fat tissue in particular so that it can help improve that circulation. But we have to talk about a few things first, and especially about the detox and circulation in general. So first of all, let's talk about the detox part, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the structure of fat tissue, and then I'll show you some of this massage. So the issue of detox always comes up in the context of fat, for a very good reason, and that is because we live in a modern world that produces a lot of fat-soluble toxins in our industrialized world and industrial chemical processes, and there's a lot of solvents, plastic residues, manufacturing residues that are all fat soluble, and these are things that we would not, that in nature we would not be exposed to. So there's really a problem in this, in that the body really doesn't have good resources to get rid of these, and a lot of times they will end up being trapped or stored in the fat tissue of the body. So we go to try to metabolize this tissue if we're going on a weight loss program, for example, and a calorie reduction program, and we say, okay, look, there's stored energy in the fat. That's what fat tissue is for, is to store energy. So we should be grateful and think about the way that the body uses this and say, hey, thanks for storing that energy, and now we need it. We're going to need to use this energy because we've got less calories coming in than we're burning, so now we need to get that energy back out. The problem is, in order to break down the fat and metabolize the fat, it's going to lose that fat tissue, which means it's going to lose a storage facility for these fat-soluble toxins. So it does help us to metabolize fat better if we've got good circulation to this tissue and if this tissue has already been detoxified, getting rid of these fat-soluble toxins. So what massage can do is two things. It can help promote that circulation, but in that process it can help detoxify that fat so that when we are ready to metabolize, the body has access to the tissue much more directly and much more quickly. Okay, so these fat-soluble toxins are, if we want them to be flushed out, but we need the body ready for that, and so that's why we've been doing. I don't jump into this as a early time in our wellness program, because I really want you to make sure you're drinking enough water, have your detox mechanisms activated, you know how to use sulfurzyme and detoxzyme. And you know how to do some breathing, and the body's been saturated with oxygen through good breathing and improved respiratory system. So these are all the things that I've kind of built up to so that we'd be ready for something like this, and it can really make a big difference in how efficiently the body can get rid of these things. So we definitely want these toxins to flush out, and we're going to kind of address that in terms of this massage and all that. So the enzymes and detoxzyme is probably one of the some ways to do it, but these toxins will also help to be flushed out through the physical massage, and then we can enhance that process of the toxins being removed as when we use the essential oils. And so we're going to use our Cel-Lite Magic. This is our massage oil here, Cel-Lite Magic. And the essential oils are a fabulous enhancement because, as we've mentioned, essential oils are fat soluble. They're going to move into that tissue and really help to do some of the mobilizing and detoxing that we hope to accomplish. So yes, we're getting physical with it, but we get the extra bonus of the essential oils to help that process. And then once those hit the bloodstream, again, we're hoping that by now the liver has got the resources with the sulfurzyme and detoxzyme to break all that down and get rid of it. Okay, so that's the first part. Now, the second part is, let's consider fat tissue in general. And a lot of times people will look at it as like I said, really have a bad relationship with fat in their body, and they go, oh, I don't like this fat. We need to be grateful to all the parts of our body, love all parts of our body, and recognize that the fat tissue is there to store energy and for the future. So it just, as long as we work with that and acknowledge it, okay. But the other part about fat tissue is that, especially once we get a lot of it and the fat tissue is really large and folded over, it's not getting good circulation. So anything that's not getting good blood flow, good circulation, those cells are not being healthy. So we definitely want healthy cells, and so to work with this and improve the circulation. Once the tissue has gotten large enough to fold over, then it's lost structural support. In other words, every time I walk, there's a little bit of whiplash happening in the tissue, and so that tissue's getting damaged or hurt by that. And so I really want to be careful with fat tissue in terms of it's fairly delicate, and I really want to work with it very gently. So I want to encourage you to have a very gentle, loving time with the fat tissue when we're talking about doing this massage. It's not aggressive. It's a very light touch, and working with that to kind of love on it and get the circulation going, okay? Because we don't want to bruise. The fat tissue can bruise pretty easily, and we definitely don't want to be adding damage to the body. Okay, so with those things in mind, I'm going to show you some little stroking techniques, massage techniques to help mobilize the fat. I don't have a lot of fat, I understand that, so I'm going to show you, where I would be working with the Cellulite and things like that, and then we go from there, okay? I mean, you just have to kind of, work with your body and the way it is. So I want to back up and show you a little bit this now the Cellulite. Typically, people would think of Cellulite as this tissue that doesn't have good structure, and it's on the sides of the legs, or both sides of the legs, around the buttocks, maybe a little bit around the middle. So I'm going to focus on that. Ideally, if you're going to be using essential oils, I'll use a little bit of this to show you, but it would be done with much less clothing than I'm wearing, but we're not going there right now. Okay, so not on video anyway. Okay, so what I'm going to do first off is use a warming stroke, okay, and I really want to warm up the tissue, get the circulation to kind of start moving through. So it's start up top, and I'm just going to do a rolling action of warming, or else I can just do a back and forth, kind of very gentle, what you would Indian rub kind of thing, but I'm not being aggressive. I'm not shearing the tissue. I'm really over the surface of the tissue. I'm not grabbing the tissue and moving it. I'm just getting that very surface of it warmed up and getting some, just the circulation, just warming it up, okay? And so I'm starting with that. I'll do both sides, and again, you're going to be in the inner thigh and that kind of thing. I'm just getting things warmed up. Okay, so now that I've got, and we can do that same thing, and you'll see me do this little hand over hand action. So along the middle midriff, and if I had folds where I had 2 folds, for example, I might hold one up and just do a little sweep across like that, and then the next one and do a little sweep across like that. So I just want to be kind of warming it up and be gentle with it. Now I'm going to take a Cel-Lite Magic Massage Oil and give myself a couple pumps of this. And you want to be, I don't know if you noticed, you want to be careful when you squeeze this. It does tend to squirt out. And so you definitely don't want to have a child nearby and get squirt in their eye or something like that. So just be aware of when you pump that kind of, sometimes it comes out. So I'm just going to rub that into this tissue here, inner thigh, outer thigh, and I would be so coming around the buttock area and up into the hip, if I didn't have my shorts on. So but I'm gonna just apply the oil right now, and I'm just spreading. Really, I'm just working with it, spreading. And you'll notice now that we've got a little bit of friction, and so now as I rub, it is going to start to drag. And the first one was just warming up, where I'm really going over the surface of the tissue real easily. This one is going to start to have a little drag. So I want to be light with it, and I'm hand over hand, and I'm pulling that liquid, pulling the tissue fluid up into the body. Okay. So I'm activating that tissue and then pulling this fluid. Now, what would be useful to be aware of is this opening up, and we've done this before, but opening up this fold right in the hip joint, okay, right here, above the hip joint and below the hip joint. So this would be above the hip joint, and I could do a little bit of massage up here to open the lymph, and then come across the hip joint by going below and coming across that hip joint. So that would be here, and then I could start across the middle with the lift, and so still doing all of that with applying the oil. And again, now with the oil on here, you'll be able to tell that there's a bit more drag, and so I really light touch still. I'm being very light, hand over hand, and I'm pulling the fluid in. Now, as I'm doing this, I could add my inhale, right? The idea, and I've connected to, listen to that, the fat tissue, and connect with it and pull that fluid in, and then maybe even breathe down into, give it some energy, give it some vitality, love on the fat tissue a little bit. Get it all activated and sparkly, maybe even use the scrubby bubble image. And now just do a couple, maybe a minute or so of that. And again, I'm gonna get a little bit more oil here, spread it, and then do the spreading. I'll show you the other side here. And again, now I've got much more drag because the tissue has now got oil, it's oily, and I'm gonna be pulling on that. So I'm gonna inhale, pull that fluid to the middle. I forgot to open this, so I'm going to do a little bit of above here and then across the joint like that, and then I'll bring the rest. See, it doesn't really take that much. There you find that fold right where that hip joint is, and then pull up across that joint on both sides, and this push pump action here will get that lymph going. Anyway, so come back to getting and again, I'm really, it's a pretty quick stroke because I'm being soft across the top. I don't want to hurt anything, not creating a lot of drag. I can do this all through this area here. It's really hard to do two hands over here, but I could do one hand on here. As a woman with breasts, you might have your hands support the breast and then move the lymph. Again, because if tissue's folding over, then you want to be able to create a place where you can stroke across that fold. So I would be lifting up a little bit and trying to get that, it would be something like this, where I would be coming up and around and pulling all that up in here, pulling all that up in here. Okay, so whatever tissue we're talking about that tends to fold, it tends to be a little bit less formed, a little less structure. I want to be a very gentle, lifting kind of feel to it. I'm lifting up and pulling that fluid to the center of the body, and that helps with this. And so then helps with the circulation. With the breath, when I combine that with the breath, I really get this activation and sparkle and energy coming into the tissue, and it gives me a relationship with that tissue that's spiritually different, physically different, energetically different than saying, "Ooh, I just got to get rid of this fat." You know what I'm saying? So it gives us a much better relationship with our body. It's so important to feel good about your body and honor the body and thank my body for doing what it's doing, for being alive and being vital and giving me a place to be here on this earth. And we need to recognize that I deserve to be here. Like some people, maybe that's even an issue. It's like, why do I even live? Why do I deserve to? No, we are all individually loved by God, and we deserve to be here. And so it's the idea of, to me, for celebrating life and wellness. Wellness is about celebrating life. I want to feel good, but I also want to celebrate life and take that vitality and share it outward with the world and bring that. My role is to bring love into the world, be more loving. When I leave, I want to have left behind more love than what we had before. And I just think if more people had that thought, it would be a lot less harsh to each other and certainly to the environment. So there's my little sermon. Okay, so massage, very nice to help circulate, get the circulation going, help activate. We can use the scrubby bubbles image. We can use some of our breath imagery and use the breath itself to bring this all in. This could be done once a day. It really, once you get good at it, it doesn't take all that long, maybe 5-10 minutes. It does require, obviously, a lot less clothing, so it's not something you probably do at work, but something you do either in the morning or at night. around your shower or whatever. So, okay, so that's the basic lesson. If you have any questions, leave me some comments. We can, if we need to do more or a different kind of context, if you're not seeing it from my body, then let me know and we can work with that. So happy wellness. We'll see you tomorrow.